do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Keep my head up when I act, head up, that's a fact. Never looking back, I'ma keep myself on track. Keep my head up, staying strong, always moving on. Feel I don't belong, tell my thoughts to move along. Push myself to be the best, die with no regrets. Live with every breath, see my message start to spread. And I had so many dreams, then you hit your teens. Life ain't really what it seems, try to find out what it means.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Backlash post show. None of my friends wanted to join me for this show. I'll be honest, most of us forgot it was happening and seemed like WWE did for part of the show too. But we're here to talk about it anyways. Well, I'm here and I'm hoping some of you will be as well. It wasn't the greatest show in the world, but I mean, there were some fun things. There were two really good matches on this show. There were other matches on this show. And then there was the main event. And, well, that was the main event. Yes. What they're calling it. Yeah, I've got my haterade flowing tonight. But let's start where the show started. We've got the opening fatal four-way for the Intercontinental Championship. I'm sorry, for the U.S. Championship between Jacob Fatu defending against Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest, and LA Knight. This was my favorite match of the entire show. This was spectacular. I didn't like that they seemed to be one-on-one more often than not, which is fine, but NXT's really gotten down the formula of multi-man matches, three ways, four ways. They've really gotten that down pat. And this, unfortunately, didn't follow that groove very well at all. That being said, it was a lot of really fun stuff in here. I bit the near fall where everybody did their finishers, and Drew was the last one, and he knocked Damian Priest. I thought Priest might somehow steal the U.S. title. I mean, I didn't think Jacob was going to lose the title, but at the same time, I bit on the near fall. I loved that the rivalries kept building through this match. Specifically, the rivalries that they were building going in. So Priest and McIntyre were constantly going after each other. LA Knight and Jacob Fatu were going after each other. He really did a good job of continuing those stories. It did a really good job of filling out the match. And yes, solo me, because nobody else wanted to join me. So they're leaving me on my own with no adult supervision. This could be dangerous. But we'll see. It might be fun. It won't be fun. But I'm going to have a good time anyways, so I'm glad you're here, STG, to talk about this with. It is indeed potentially dangerous. It is indeed potentially dangerous to have me here on my own with no adult supervision. The U.S. title match, I thought was really good. I loved that Damian screwed Drew again by pulling the referee out to stop Drew from winning. I love that he can then continue by taking him out by going over the barricade, and then they continued fighting all the way to the back, essentially, into the crowd, where they do the big spot of the South of Heaven chokeslam off of the rigging, through the tables. It's a great way to clear the path for the debut of Jeff Cobb. Matanza of Lucha Underground is finally here. Interesting that he was involved in a Damian Priest match too, by the way, because the first time I really remember Jeff Cobb was watching him defeat Damian Priest for the television title in Ring of Honor as Damian was ending his run there and heading to WWE to get ready to go to NXT when he was Punishment Martinez. So, yeah, I thought that was great. I like the idea of bringing in Jeff Cobb with, I now have adult supervision, everybody. Ashford is here to keep me in line and make sure nothing bad happens. So I have some form of adult supervision. I am no longer on my own with nobody here keeping track of me. No, I thought Jeff Cobb was a really interesting pull here because We really don't know what side is he on. Is he part of Solo's crew? Is this part of a Jacob Fatu thing? Is he there to replace Jacob Fatu as we build to Solo Sikoa versus Jacob Fatu? There's a whole lot of interesting that we can put in there. Or Cobb could be a lot like a Bronson Reed and just be a mercenary, a guy hired to come in and do something for money. And I think that's another interest. I don't think that's the way we're going to go, but I would be more interested in something like that, where all of a sudden Cobb just starts showing up places and helping people. Maybe this is a John Cena hires Jeff Cobb to do work for him. I think there's a lot of fun you could do with a mercenary Jeff Cobb before really bringing him in to the fold as his own individual with a story. Yeah, I agree. I think that there's Joe, Hulk, whichever one you want to go by. I think there's a lot of interesting that they can do with Jeff Cobb. I've been a big fan of his work. Like I said, I remember him as Matanza under the mask in Lucha Underground. Of course, he's been doing fantastic work over in New Japan Pro Wrestling for years over there as part of the United Empire. I know Andre's probably very excited to see one of the United Empire end up here in WWE. He's not, but I like to think he is. But no, this is a big move for Jeff Cobb, and I think that a lot of people are going to start to see a very interesting Jeff Cobb. Those who might not be familiar with him yet, get ready. He's a lot like Jacob. He's a lot like Bronson. He's a lot like the two of them combined. And when people start getting to see the tour of the islands, it's going to be fun to see because it's a slightly better Deep Six. No, not Deep Six. It's a slightly better End of Days from Baron Corbin, Bishop Dyer. Either way, Jacob does get the win after the Jeff Cobb interference because it's no DQ. Like I said, it started off the show hot. I really enjoyed it. I thought this was a good match. It was my favorite match in the card. I wish I could say more good things about the rest of this card, but I've had a little bit of haterade tonight. Hello, Bobby Stats. Thank you for joining me. I greatly appreciate it. We move on to a surprising finish as Lyra Valkyria defeats Becky Lynch to retain her Intercontinental Championship, which I was a bit surprised by, I'll admit. I thought this was easy, right in Becky, call it a day. But as I've been saying to a couple people who've been asking me about this Backlash card, are you excited for it? I'm like, it seemed very predictable, so there had to be something that people could do. They had to do something that would interest me. And this was the one thing that they did that interested me, is they had Lyra go over. Hello, Auntie! Thank you for joining. I greatly appreciate it. I know you don't watch a ton of WWE, so I appreciate you being here. Make sure those of you that don't know that you go ahead and check out Honor Ramble when it's around. I know this week it was preempted because they pushed Ring of Honor to Friday night, so I don't think we had it on Honor Ramble. But we did have a Mother Tucking post show last night, so go ahead and check that out on the YouTube channel. It was another fantastic show as they're doing, I believe, the All-Stars season now. They are no longer on the season that they were doing. They have started a new season. I believe it's the All-Star season. So definitely go ahead and check out those two shows for Auntie. And if you want, there might even be a Wrestling Made Me Cry tomorrow. Auntie can let me know one way or the other on that. All right. I don't think Becky isn't my favorite type of wrestler. People who have been here a while will know I have a bit of hate for Becky Lynch overall. I think she's a fine in-ring worker, but I find her clunky. I find her matches to be a bit clunky. They're not my cup of tea. I don't really like Becky. I don't like the clunky nature of her matches. But I do agree that I think her and Lyra had a bit of chemistry here. I thought that it really went well. I thought they built out this match properly, that I thought Becky was going to win a few times, and then Lyra pulls it out in the end, which is nice. It's a good surprise. It'll be interesting to see where the story goes from here, because it's obviously going to continue. How long is Bayley going to be part of the story without being here? And of course, it's only a matter of time before putting that title on Becky Lynch to get to the Becky Lynch versus Bayley match that I think we're all expecting, probably around time of SummerSlam, I would imagine. Either way, I'm happy for Lyra to get the win here, although I feel like it's one for her and the next few for Becky to kind of put this to an end. But it's good that it puts Lyra on a bit of a pedestal. It's good that Lyra finally gets to defend this championship on a pay-per-view. That's nice. She's never defended this title outside of Raw for the entirety of the time that she's been champion. So it was good to have her here doing that. I didn't love the Becky Lynch being Christian with the temper tantrums after she wasn't getting her pins. It felt a little unnecessary. We'll get to that when we get to John Cena in the main event. But overall, I thought this was it was a better match than I expected, but it wasn't a great match by any means. I thought that the chair to the turnbuckle, to not use the turnbuckle to have Lyra hit the second one, seemed a little clunky. I don't know if she was supposed to hit the top and then still kick out, maybe that was what was supposed to happen. I don't know. But like I said, I'm very happy for Lyra to still be champion. I'm hoping that they're going to continue to defy what I think they're going to do, and they're going to keep this title off of Becky Lynch and just have her feud with Lyra to help give Lyra that recognition and that reputation of being able to take out Becky Lynch that we need. Because I don't think Becky versus Bayley needs the Intercontinental title. I think you can spin that off of this and then have Lyra go ahead and do more with the Intercontinental Championship. But at least they're trying to do something to go ahead and make this Intercontinental Championship feel like it matters. Because, unfortunately, being defended only on Raw means the title matters a little bit less. And that's unfortunate because it should. I'm not much of a Becky Lynch fan, but I understand they're trying to use her to make Lyra interesting. I agree. I agree. Becky Lynch, as a veteran, is always going to help put over young talent. Becky Lynch, the one thing I can never take away from her is that she is always trying to make sure that younger talent get on cards, get opportunities, get championships, and do the work. Becky went to NXT to take the title off of Tiffany Stratton, to make sure to put over Tiffany Stratton, to go ahead and be able to put over Lyra Valkyria when she was done down there, to give Lyra the championship and progress Lyra's development in NXT. Because up until that point, me and Astrid had talked for many a times about how Lyra felt kind of directionless when it came to her time on NXT. And I'm very appreciative that they have Lyra doing stuff that matters, and that Lyra's doing things that are definitely helping her career. So we'll see where we go from here in terms of how much better this can get. I am seeing that my camera is not the greatest at the moment. We're going to have to go with that and hope that it resolves itself at some point in the near future. We'll move on to the next match, which is the Intercontinental Championship match between Dominic Mysterio and Penta. Again, this is great. I really enjoyed a lot of this, but it came down to them doing the same things that they kind of always do with these two, with the Judgment Day, is that it has outside interference over and over and over again to get to the end, to get to the win. Fine, but I love Dominic Mysterio. He was my 2023 Male Wrestler of the Year in WWE, the year that he was holding all of those championships in NXT when he was North American Champion, when he was on all of those shows for a majority of the year. I really enjoy Dom. I get a big kick out of Dom. I think he does so much good work that I'm very excited to see where he goes from here, what they can do with him. But until then, it kind of is what it is. So he's going to hold this Intercontinental Championship. They're continuing this story between El Grande Americano, otherwise known as Chad Gable. This is not an El Generico and Sami Zayn situation. They're not two separate people. He's not running an orphanage. This is Chad Gable in a mask, screwing over Penta one more time, but it's fine. It's fine. I know Mark disagrees with me. Mark talks wrestling, thinks that this is absolutely two different people, and he's entitled to his own wrong opinion, but it's fine. No, I think the El Grande Americano character is going over really well. I think it's a great thing for Chad Gable to have. He's now the Speed Champion, which is kind of, I don't know what to do about that, because that Speed Championship just doesn't matter. They don't really reference it anywhere. And when they do, it's hit or miss. People who have been speed champions haven't been properly pushed. But this is Chad Gable, and sad, it's Chad Gable's first singles championship in WWE, period, which is kind of sad that he's doing it under the El Grande Americano mask. But if this gets me El Grande Americano and Dominic Mysterio or somebody else versus the Lucha Brothers, both Rey Fenix and Penta, I'll be a happy camper. And again, seeing Dominic on my screen, especially without Liv Morgan, is happiness to me. We got Hulk in the chat saying, to me, it was just a Monday Night Raw match, but I think Dom's title reign is going to be good. I agree. I think Dominic Mysterio does the best he can with what he's given. I feel like most of this card was a Monday Night Raw. I think any of these matches could have been on a Monday Night Raw or a Friday Night SmackDown, and nobody would have batted an eye in any way, shape, or form. Not saying it was bad. It's just it was very predictable, and they didn't do a lot to really change my mind in any way, shape, or form about who was going to win and who was going to lose in these. So that was a bit unfortunate. But, you know, you can't always get what you want, so sometimes things happen. We're just going to have to move on and hope that things go better. But, again, Dominic Mysterio doing great work. Penta in the ring doing fantastic work. Character work from Penta off the charts. The Judgment Day character work is fantastic. Finn Balor screwing up on accident but on purpose was great work by Finn. I love that they're doing all of this. I love that there's all that kind of interplay going on with this. I'm very excited for this. I thought this was a great match. I thoroughly enjoyed it. But like Hulk, I think this could have been a match that could have main evented Monday Night Raw, and it would have been just fine as a main event of Monday Night Raw. Ahmad Ali says that he thinks R-Truth turning heel would be good for the business. He thinks that R-Truth sold his soul to The Rock. I mean, I think that's more just R-Truth being John Cena's number one fan. He's been a fan since he was a child, even though R-Truth is older than John Cena. So, you know, let's not worry about that. But yeah, no, the R-Truth stuff was great. We'll get to that in just a little bit. Hulk says, I can't even take the speed title seriously. Sometimes I forget it even exists. Yeah. The speed title is just, it's a cool concept to have a title that's only defended on social media. It's a cool concept to have a match that only takes 3 or 4 minutes at a time. The problem is it makes everything else feel less than. Because if you can win a speed match, then why can't you win your regular matches on Raw or SmackDown? And maybe because of the fact that everybody's going into this knowing they only have 3 minutes, so they have to go harder and they have to go faster and they have to take chances. That can make the difference, but I just feel like it's just a bit lacking. If they had a championship devoted to social media that wasn't timed, then I think it might be a better one. But these 3 5-minute time limits just kind of make the speed title feel a bit irrelevant. And the fact that they can't/won't reference it on any other Raw or SmackDown programming, like they can't have the Speed Championship on those shows because it is exclusive to the hellscape that is Twitter or X. It just makes it a little bit worse off in the long run. But hopefully as they keep putting it on people that they are actively pushing in other storylines, like a Sol Ruca, like an El Grande Americano, hopefully that will give it some life and that it can hopefully increase in what's going on. We're going to move on to the 4th match, our semi-main event for this card, which I forgot was a semi-main event when it ended. Pat McAfee takes on and is defeated by Gunther. I love everything about this, with one exception. I wish it hadn't been on a pay-per-view. This was an opportunity to have a second women's match on this show. What I would have done if I were WWE is make this the main event of either Raw tomorrow night or Monday night, or make this a match that happens on a Saturday night's main event, which is a step down from a PLE, but still a high-profile show. And you can go ahead and do that there. The match itself, I thought was great. I love the idea that Gunther's screwing with McAfee the whole time. I love the fact that he's screwing with Cole the whole time. I love Cole's involvement. It makes perfect sense. I think everything in this did well. I think Pat had another fantastic match, and I'm on the side of I'm good for 1 to 2 Pat McAfee matches a year. I don't want more than that. I don't want him in long-term stories, but I don't mind a McAfee match here and there because I think McAfee he's talented enough to have these matches, and especially if they're just a way to put over a character. Like tonight's match was meant to give Gunther his heat back, because there is heat in attacking a ring and a ringside commentator. It's why it's a trope that they've done year in and year out. It's why when the NWO was forming, they attacked Eric Bischoff. It's why WWE constantly has announcers get attacked here and there. Kane and Jim Ross, JR and Triple H, all kinds of things have times have gone down this. Hell, Dash Wilder, I believe it is, and or is it Dawson? Dawson or Dash? One of the guys from FTR is starting to seemingly like he's going to feud with Nigel McGuinness. Again, that's why this is great. You put heat on a wrestler for attacking a non-wrestler. That's why it works. That's why when we get to the main event and we have Randy Orton RKOing Nick Aldis, it puts heat on Randy Orton for doing that. I thought this was great. I thought Pat gave just enough fight, and I thought that the near falls he got them because something was going on and not due to his own ability of being better than Gunther. But I like how at the end of the night, when Gunther finally does get the win, he has that respect for Pat. Like, look, you hung in there. You took me to a version of my limits. You pushed me further than I thought I had to go. Tip of the cap to you. Good for you, sir. Let's go ahead and move on. I think that was great. It looks like we just had a raid. I'm going to assume that is Get the Tables. Just let me check the Twitch back end to know. But I want to thank the people for coming in and joining me. And yes, it is Get the Tables. Thank you so much, Tony, for sending your viewers over here. I greatly appreciate it. Shout out. Get the Tables. If you want to watch along quality stuff, Tony is the best at that. He is so good. Oh, Tom is here and lurking. If you want another watch along, if you're doing WWE PLEs, Tom is your place to go for watch alongs. He does great watch along. He also does news content every Monday, every Friday. He does spoiler warning. And if you want watch alongs for Raw, for SmackDown, for AEW stuff, you can go over to Get the Tables, where Tony and the guys go over there and they do a fantastic job. They have a very active and fantastic chat over there at Get the Tables with a lot of great people that we like over here. We thank you guys both for your continued support. We greatly appreciate it. Tom, isn't it? It's still a little early and you got a Sunday coming up, so you got a day to kind of relax. You don't have to rush off the air. It's so great. Good to see you here. I greatly appreciate it. Folks jumping in the chat. This is needed to make Gunther that monster he's supposed to be. Yeah, every now and then you just need to heat Gunther up and you need to give him somebody he can destroy. And a Pat McAfee was the perfect option for doing something like that, because you can go ahead and let Pat get beat up. You can let Pat get beat down. You can go ahead and let Pat have his moments and have Gunther laughing at him the whole time, and then have Gunther win in the end and everything's fine and dandy. Because Gunther could always say, I didn't take him seriously. I didn't take him like he was, a big deal. That's why I struggled with him as long, that's why he lasted as long as he did. That's why he did. Because if I would really have gone after him like I would have, a Jey Uso at WrestleMania, he wouldn't have lasted that long. It gives Gunther a lot of outs while still giving Pat McAfee that opportunity to shine. And it goes ahead and gives the crowd a chance to see Pat McAfee work, which is great because I like Pat McAfee in the ring. I think he does good work. So it's very good to see what's going on. We got Yippee in the chat jumping in. Hello, Yippee. Thank you for joining us. I greatly appreciate it. Imagine they turn John's heel run as a dark side, light side kind of thing, where you see him show hints of his old self during matches and promos. I mean, it's very possible. The fun thing about this John Cena heel turn is we don't know what we're going to get. John Cena is telling us that we're only going to get the I'm here to ruin wrestling John Cena, and his matches are proving that, which is great. And we'll move on to the main event now because we've talked about Pat McAfee a bit. If we need to go back, we can. John Cena defeats Randy Orton in a match that was way too long and way too slow and way too many ref bumps. But it was delightful chaos. It was delightful in all the things that were bad about it. Make it fun because it's just two guys getting to have a little bit of fun wrestling for the last time, wrestling each other. I was very excited for this match, and it delivered on what it needed to. It was not a main event caliber match, but at the same time, John Cena is trying to ruin wrestling. So none of his matches should be main event level matches. So I think there's an interesting dichotomy in the two of those. And I do like the idea of a dark side, light side, where the old Cena starts to shine through a bit here and there. There's a lot of good fun here. We had Ahmad talking a bit about how R-Truth sold the soul. Like I said, I think R-Truth is just there for his childhood hero. He's trying to make sure that Randy doesn't hurt his childhood hero. I would love one more match between R-Truth and John Cena. We had that at Capital Punishment in the mid-2010s when R-Truth was doing a little Jimmy character, and it was sensational. R-Truth turns heel and terrorizes everyone backstage that has to wrestle Cena. There's a lot of fun in that too. Like I said, R-Truth is delightful. He was a great comedy spot at the end of this match to make everything make sense. And again, this whole match was about telling a long-term story, like I heard Tom talking about on his watch along. This match was long, and it was a bit slow. But there were so many callbacks to the years and years and years of rivalry these two have had, and all of the things that built into it. It was good for what it was. This whole card was it was good for what it was. They did what they could. But there's no unpredictability about John Cena right now. As we get closer to and past SummerSlam, that's where I think the will he, won't he will start. Because I think, depending who his match is at SummerSlam, he could lose the championship as early as SummerSlam. And then you start getting into if he retains it at SummerSlam, at what point do they take it off of him? Because the dates are going to start to run down at that point, and we're going to start getting into interesting territory. I love that we have a countdown of dates from John Cena, that we have this limited number. We have this countdown to the inevitable where John Cena could walk away with this championship and be the last world champion, the last real world's champion. There's a lot of fun and interest in that. I'm digging the John Cena heel turn. Yes, the matches are not good, but they're not supposed to be. John's not going out there and trying to prove that he can do what he did in 2011 between him and CM Punk at Money in the Bank. They're telling a story of how John Cena is trying to ruin wrestling and be the last real world's champion. And he's going to do it by any way he can, by any means necessary. And having Wade Barrett on the call for this match was such a good idea, was so good. I think I would have been more interested if they had Pat on call for the first three matches and then have Wade come out to take his spot when he wrestles Gunther, and then have Wade on the call here, so we didn't have him the whole time. But I loved the hatred he has for John Cena, talking about how John Cena was never the locker room leader, how John Cena was never, a good guy, because he was always out for John, and bringing up the things about the Nexus and talking about, the Wade Barrett's one of the interesting people who was involved in a feud with both of these guys at the same time when they were doing the Randy Orton versus Wade Barrett storyline when John Cena was part of the Nexus. There's a lot of good stuff that they mined through this, through commentary, through the match, through the actions. I really enjoyed the spectacle that this match was. I didn't really enjoy the match itself. We get Yippee saying, what if they never take the title off them as a sign of respect? Here's the thing. Yes, that's a sign of respect from the company to the wrestler. However, I heard it years ago, and I think it was The Undertaker. The first time I ever heard it, I think came from The Undertaker, where he talked about you kind of always go out on your back. At the end of the day, a true professional goes out on their back because somebody went out on their back to give them an opportunity. So at the end of your career, you put somebody else over. you lay down and you look up at the lights as somebody else gets the big win. John Cena is too much of a traditionalist, I think, to go out on top, to be a world champion and to take the championship with him. I don't think that will actually happen. But I like the idea that it might come down to the last few dates that Cena has before that happens. I like the idea of the countdown to get there. But I don't think he's going to take it all the way to the end. He might, especially if they add dates to his contract and have him work through Mania next year. If this is going to be a whole 1 year run from Mania to Mania, which has been rumored in different places. I know people are trying to say that the company be interested in it. Cena might be interested in it, depending on the money and depending on the schedule. But I think there's a lot of interesting things that they could do with that. But at the same time, I like the idea of that December deadline, that we have this big night in December, particularly I would hope in Boston, that's Cena's last show. I think that would be the way I would do it. Have Cena go out on his back in Boston, let him turn face in front of that crowd, and go home, with that. But we'll have to wait and see. Like I said, this was a fine card, but it felt like a Raw. It felt like a SmackDown. Nothing here felt like it reached the level of a premium live event, which is unfortunate for Backlash. But at the same time, hopefully, we got a Saturday Night's Main Event in 2 weeks. We've got Money in the Bank coming up in, I believe it's the end of June. No, it's July. We found out we're going to be in Saudi Arabia. Boo. Boo, Saudi Arabia. Boo, United Champions in Saudi Arabia. That's unfortunate news. I was hoping we weren't going to have to go back there. We do have Battleground coming up. That Battleground weekend with the Saturday Night's Main Event mixed in there. So that's all kinds of good stuff that you got coming up. What do you got coming up from me here at our local establishment? Well, my name, again, as I said, is Ed Fries, and you can find me on Twitter and Blue Sky at EdFries12584. You can find me on the Twitch at twitch.tv/EdFries2002. Last week, me and Andre went ahead with the help of, with the go-ahead of the host of Marvel Talk, Peggy, went ahead and reviewed the Thunderbolts, which I saw again today because I really enjoyed that movie, and I did go see it again. And I'm already ready to go see it a third time, so I will be seeing it again. Before it leaves theaters. And I'm loving this movie. I loved it more this time than I did the first time, believe it or not. And I actually counted the amount of times they said Bob, Bobby, or Robert. And I'll save that for Twitter to go ahead and give you the answer to that. But it's more than you think or less than you think, depending on what you've seen in the movie. You can also find me here every Tuesday night with Ashley Bizarro as we talk all things NXT on Taking Over. We cover NXT on a weekly basis. As soon as the show's over, give us 5 minutes or so, and we'll be on the air ready to talk about it. We talk about what happened, where we see it going, and all the fun things there. And, of course, you can make sure to catch all things our local establishment almost every day of the week down at these places. You can find us at Ole Podcast, capital O, capital L, capital E, capital P, Oddcasts, on all your favorite social media platforms, or you find us here at YouTube and Twitch at our local establishment. We have a variety of content coming out all the time. We had a Killer Cuts come out earlier this week on, I believe it was Friday. Like I talked about earlier with Auntie Collins, we had the Mother Talking Post show. We've got Bobby doing music and movie reviews, as they come. I know he just did the new Sleep Token song, so that review just came out. We've got Point of View coming tomorrow. I'm going to go ahead and play the calendar on my way out of here, but make sure you follow our local establishment, all these fun places. If you have any thoughts, go ahead and leave them in a comment on the YouTube videos. This will be in the live section. Go ahead and there, leave a comment. Tell me what you thought of the pay-per-view card. I'll be in the comments replying to them either later tonight or tomorrow. I know Bobby Munson always maintains our comments as well, so you can go ahead and talk to him in the comments. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. Give us some watch hours. We're about 200-ish hours away from the first level of monetization, which we greatly appreciate, so we can have super chats, so we can maybe make me say some silly things on here. So if you can, go ahead and put on one of our playlists, whether it be Taking Over, Marvel Talk, or any of the other fine shows on this platform. We've got some playlists. Play it in the back while you're working or something like that, so you can go ahead and get us some watch hours, so we can tackle that first level of monetization, because we'd really appreciate it. Bob! There's a Bob. We got a Bob. You got to go see Thunderbolts. You definitely got to go see it. I think it's one of the better Marvel movies they've done in a long time. I really, really enjoyed it. Hulk, I really think you should go see it. It's a good time. I think sometime Punk is going to get Cena back for Elimination Chamber, whether that's helping somebody else win the title or him winning it himself. Maybe. I'm very excited for the CM Punk versus John Cena match that's upcoming. I would hope that match would happen at Money in the Bank, but I think that that's too early. I don't think Punk will be done with the Seth Rollins factions to go ahead and be ready for a championship match come Money in the Bank. But I think just the so much meat of the John Cena CM Punk rivalry is tied into Money in the Bank that I think CM Punk versus John Cena at Money in the Bank would just be kind of a nice little nod, as we had Randy Orton here at Backlash in St. Louis. I think there's a lot of fun that you can do about that. Yes, everybody go see your mom tomorrow. I will be spending tomorrow with my mother, so thank you, Yippee, for mentioning that. Hopefully you go see yours, and everybody else. If your mom's around, go ahead and tell her you love her, because they're not always here for a long time. So make sure you tell them you love them when you can. Tell your mom, tell your dad, tell your friends. We're here during Mental Health Month. It's definitely something that we always appreciate, mental health. We try to do a special on it every year. We try to tackle it as much as we can. The Thunderbolts movie, we talked about mental health and how much of a piece of that movie that was. So definitely go ahead and keep your mental health under control. I will check out Bandmade. Bobby has been sending me videos of them every now and then. It's not my type of thing, but I enjoy watching them when I can. So thank you, Paul Escobar, for checking it out. Thank you for being here. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I'm going to play the calendar of things that we had coming up this week, as the new calendar will come out tomorrow morning on Point of View. Remember to catch Point of View tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. if you're around, before you go out with your mom, if you can. But for myself, for the other people here at our local establishment, thank you all for joining me. I greatly appreciate it. See you next time. Bye.
Never gonna stop, never gonna change, never gonna do the things you say.